It's going to be about responsive design. Responsive design looks at wireframes here where you have the small display, which is for a phone, the medium display, which is for a tablet or for an iPad, and then the large display that is for a desktop or for a laptop. So, okay, we're going to start with starter 6. I'm going to just kind of bring it up here. We're going to look at it real quick. The style sheets are in the header part here, but we're going to look at starter 6 real quick. It is created with a wrapper ID that is going to wrap everything. It has the header, the nav, the main. It also has an aside and a footer. And so we've learned that most of the time things are going to just kind of go in the normal flow, but we are going to modify the look and feel. See that the nav here and everything on the small is in stacked blocks. So header, nav, main, aside, and footer. So the same way it's coded, that's the same way it's stacked. Here we have the header. The nav goes horizontal across the page. It's not stacked up and down. Main and then the side. So we have a 2-column layout and then a footer. And then in the large display, we have the header, we have the nav that is a vertical nav that is on the left-hand side, main and aside, and so we have a 3-column layout there, and then footer. I'm going to look at the Chrome browser. This is going to be the way it looks. And right now it is all stacked. So we have our header, we have our nav, we have our main, we have our aside. I have to fix the images on all of this and the copyright. So I'm going to move this out of the way again. I'm going to fix my images because my images have to go to the starters folder. So I know my header images here, that has to go to starters. That is the path that it's in. I need to go to the very bottom in the aside and change that to starters. Okay, so now I'll bring that back and show you what this looks like. So here was the lighthouse, here is the lighthouse bistro, and there are the images in there now. Again, header, nav, main, aside, and then the footer. I have to pull it up so you can see the footer. So for the view part, if you are using Emmet, you can just put in meta VP or meta : VP. If you're not using Emmet, you need to type it out, and so it's meta, name is viewport. So you can up arrow. I guess we have to put in the word viewport because it doesn't have it here. That's one of our selections. And then we're going to put in the content, and that is going to be the width equal device minus width, comma. And then with the comma, it's going to be the initial scale minus, or the initial minus scale equal 1. So that is the meta tag that allows us to let it scale for the viewports. So I'm going to go ahead and put in greater than. So we will save this. We can make this a little bit smaller. So you can make it a little bit smaller. Once you do that, it does scale it and it does look at the devices If you're getting duplicates, just refresh it and you won't get duplicates on it. So I hope that looks media query, and this is going to be the media query for the tablet. It's going to have a min width of 600 pixels. And so let's get started. The at media query is the exceptions to what the global rules are. So we're going to put in the min dash width is the first part of the rule, colon 600 pixels. So this is the breakpoint at 600 pixels. You don't put in the semicolon, sorry. And then you're going to put in the open and close squiggly brackets. So everything we put inside this media query, this is the media query for the tablet. So I'm going to come in here and just say, put these are the styles for tablet. So that just kind of lets you know. And the breakpoint is at 600 pixels. So everything inside the media query, so inside these two braces, is going to be the things that are different from the phone to the tablet. So a lot of the stuff is going to be the same, but these are just the things that are the exceptions to the global rules. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a nav li, and it is going to give us the display block in line. And so this is going to make the navigation go from vertical to horizontal. And so I'm going to just scroll down here, inline block, click on that. Next thing is we're going to have a width of 7 EMs. Padding of 0.5 EM all the way around. And border none. The next thing we're going to do is we are going to put in the nav UL. Open and close squiggly brackets. And this one is going to be text align center. The next rule, or the next selector, is going to be the main. And the difference here is we are going to float this to the left, and the aside is going to be floated, and they're both going to take 55%. Or wait, we're going to have a margin of 55%. So we're going to float left, and the main's going to take 55% of the browser. So we're going to float it left. And its width is going to be 55%. Then we're going to put in the aside and have a margin of, on the left, of 55%. And then on the footer, we're going to clear both. So as you can see, we're not typing all of the selectors and all the rules again. We're only putting in the things that are different, or the exceptions. So we're going to clear both. Go ahead and save that. And you can actually see the aside jumps to the bottom, and then we get the 2-column layout there. And that is the first media query that we created. This one is going to be for the desktop. So again, still inside the styles. And as you can tell, this media query encompasses everything inside of here. These are the rules for the media query that are the exceptions to the global. The next media query is going to be for the desktop. So I'm going to just put styles for desktop. so I know where those styles are starting. And then I'm going to put in the at media, and then I'm going to put in, this one is going to have a breakpoint or a change of a min width. So the min width of this one is going to be 1024. Also pixels, and then open and close squiggly bracket for all the exceptions that are going to make up this 3-column layout. And so the first exception is we're going to go back and have our nav be block and have it stack again. So we're going to do nav li, and we're going to have display, and it's going to be a display of block. The next thing we're going to do is the nav ul. And this one is going to have a text align left. So we want it to just kind of sit to the left of that block. So okay, and I would probably have had my nav up here, and I'm going to do nav, open and close squiggly brackets, and the nav is going to have a float left. And then after the nav, we're going to change the wrapper. Again, I would have probably put these things at the top of this media query so they kind of have it coded backwards here. So the body, sorry, lowercase b, we're going to change the background color to BGC, and then tab, and I'm going to change that to 4 zeros, 2 6s, and then the wrapper, we're going to change it from its width, that is, I think, 90% or close to 90%. I'll have to go back up to the top. So the wrapper ID is a width of 80%. We're going to change the margins to auto. And we are going to have a max width, so we don't want it to get more than 1200 pixels wide. So we're going to put in a max width of 1200 pixels. I'm going to save that. We're going to come back and look at this. So here we have it at the, here it is at the phone level. There it is at the tablet level, and the desktop. So this is for the phone. And do know that this is pretty big because I have my screen size bigger. But this is for the tablet. And then as I stretch it out, let's see if I can get to show you that. Okay, and then this is for the desktop. So we have our different items displaying here. I don't see, I guess most of these are sitting to the left, but they almost look centered to me. So there's a couple things I'd probably go back and check, but it looks pretty good so far. The next time we try it, we're going to do it with the grid method. It has 1, 2, 3, 4 rows and 1, 2 columns, but then the lines start at 1. And go to 5 on our rows, and on our columns go from 1 to 3. So I hope that makes sense. So these are our column lines, and then these are our, so the vertical grid lines are actually our column lines, and these are our grid row lines. So I hope that makes sense. That is for the tablet view, and then for the desktop view, we're going to have the 3 columns again, and we're going to have this as a static size. The nav is going to be 150, and we're going to have 1, 2, 3 columns and 1, 2, 3 rows. So that should make sense, and we're going to go from 1 to 4 on our lines and the columns, and 1 through 4 on the rows. So that should make more sense. And now we're going to do the coding for this. So what I'm going to do is take my starter and I'm going to copy it, and I'm just going to call this responsive. So I'm going to do File, Save As, and I'm just going to call it respon.html. So this is the one that's going to have the grid and the flexbox in it. So I'm going to strip out all of the other rules that are in here, the exception rules on the tablet, all of them, even this one, and get rid of that extra squiggly bracket, and then go from the body to here and get rid of those rules, and we're going to add in our code. So this is the tablet, and then this is going to be for the desktop. So we're going to start with the tablet, and we're going to put in the nav UL and display flex, and then the flex is going to be a flex row with no wrap. So we're going to do display, and so this is the flex box display. Remember, flex works on a parent-child relationship. Oh, let's start that over. We're going to do nav UL. So we're going to put in our selector first. Can't tell I'm typing, can you? And that is going to be display flex. And then from there, we're going to put in a flex flow. And it is going to be row with no wrap. Then we are going to put justify content, and that is going to be space around. So we'll use the space around option here. The next thing we're going to do is have the nav ULLI selector. And we are going to put in border bottom none. Get rid of that white line. And then the next selector after nav ULLI will be the wrapper. And in the wrapper, we're going to have that as display of grid. So here we're using a combination of grid and flex to make this work. And it is going to have a grid template. And the grid template, because we have the two columns, so the grid template column. Our grid template columns is going to be 55% for the far left column, and auto, so it's going to just have the rest of the space in the second column. So then we're going to have grid template rows. We're going to copy that and just change that to rows. So I'm going to copy that in here and paste it and change that from columns to rows. And that is going to have 3 rows. Actually, we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4 rows. So we're going to have auto in there 4 times. And then we're going to set up each of our elements, header, nav, main, aside, and footer, and put in the grid rows and grid columns for each. So we're just going to tell it based on how we've set up this. So we've set up 2 columns and we've set up 4 rows. So the 4 rows going across the page or down the page, and then the columns going vertically. So 2 columns. So here we go. We're going to start with the header. I'm going to close your squiggly bracket, and then we're going to do the grid row is the first thing we're going to set. And it is going to be 1/2. And then we're going to have the grid column. And it's going to, so it's going to come down first row to the second row, so the second line of the second row, and then it's going to go 1 to 3 because we have, like if you were looking at this, this would be 1, 2, 3, and we're coming down 1, 2 on the rows. So 1 to 3. So the next selector we're going to put in is nav. Open and close squiggly brackets. I'm going to copy that grid row and column. I'm going to copy that and just paste that in. And I'm going to change my grid row on the nav to 2 to 3. 2/3. And then the nav is going to go on the columns 1 to 3. So that's going to be perfectly fine to do that. We'll put our semicolons here after the end of these. And then we're going to put in our main. So now the main is supposed to go over to the left and the aside is supposed to go to the right. So we're going to put in main, open and close squiggly bracket, and I'm going to paste that in there again. And it's going to be 3 to 4 for the main. And this is going to be 1 to 2. And then we're going to put in the aside. It is going to be 3 to 4 and 2 to 3. And then we're going to put in our last, which is going to be the footer. And it is going to also be 4 to 5. And it's going to be 1 to 3. So it's going to go across the whole content area. You're going to save that. And now when you look at it, we will go ahead and look at this one. So when you look at this one, we've only got the tablet, so we have got it to get our 2 columns working here. So that looks like it's doing a good job. I can see it moving and making the modifications that we wanted. So we set up our grid, our rows, we set up our columns, and we have all of that working on it. 3-column layout. To do that, we're going to come down here, and in the styles, inside these 2 brackets, for all of the exceptions for the desktop, we are going to put in the changes. So the first thing we're going to do is change the body background color. And it's going to be the 4 and 6, 6, that is going to give us that navy blue. We're going to put in the nav UL. Open and close squiggly bracket for that, and we're going to have display flex. And this one, direction is going to be flex direction. Is going to be column, because we are going to put it back in the column format, and it's going to be over on the left hand side, and we're going to do flex wrap, no wrap. And then from there we're going to do the wrapper, so the ID of wrapper, and this one is going to have the display of grid, because this one we're going to put in the width again of 80% to say it's 80% of the browser window. We're going to have a margin of auto, and we are going to have a max width so it doesn't get bigger than a certain point, and we want the max width to be 1200 pixels, and we want to have the display of grid, and we want to have set up our grid template columns, and now they're going to be a little different. I'm going to just come up here and just grab some of this stuff here and just make some changes to each of these as we come through. So I'm just going to copy this, and I'm going to put in, so at the parent you want to put in, go right here. So the parent, the grid template columns, now it's going to be 150 pixels and auto and auto. So we're going to have 3 columns, 150 pixels, and then auto and auto, so 2 autos. And then on the rows, we're going to have 3 autos instead of, actually we have 3. We have 4 autos, so we're going to get rid of one of these autos. And then we're going to change each of these. So it's going to be 1 to 2 and 1 to 4. So on the header, it's 1 to 2. So it's taking the first row and 1 to 4. So it's going all the way down. So 1, 2, 3, 4. The next one is going to be 2 to 3, and it's going to be 1 to 2 on the net. I'm sorry, on the header it's 1 to 4 and it's 1 to 2. So it's taking up the first column, that's 150 pixels. The next one is going to be 2 to 3 and 2 to 3. The next one is going to be rows 2 to 3 again. We're all on the same row here. And then it's going to be 3 to 4. And then the last one is going to be 3 to 4 and 1 to 4. So I'm hoping this makes sense. If you save it, you should be able to refresh it. You should be able to look at it, and it should change as it gets bigger. I messed up and forgot a semicolon here, so make sure you put in your semicolons everywhere. Don't lose your semicolons. I'm going to come back up here. Okay, so when I was typing, I must have messed that up. Okay, so I'm going to show you. It looks like this at the desktop. It looks like, if I can make it smaller, come on, like that at the tablet and that at the phone. So pull that over, and we will open up Starter 8. And let's just fix the images again because we know they have to go to the starter folder. So we know we have an image in the header. So that should be starters. And we know we have an image in the body. So we're going to come down here to the body. And I think it's in the aside. Yep, that pulls. So that's starters also. And if you look at the images now, you can see that this image doesn't go completely, well, in this instance, it's looking like it's going completely across, but it's kind of losing some of the image there. This one is hanging over the side of the container. The wrapper is the container. So we want to fix this one so it fits in our content better, and we want to fix this one so we can see it a little bit better. So we're going to use background size to change the header, and we're going to set the max width of the image to be 100% for this one so it sits in the container better. So let's get to it. To do both of those, we're going to go to the heading 1. So find the heading 1 option here, and we are going to put in, first of all, we're going to put in a font size of 300%. FS, what will that do? Oh, font style. Okay, so that's not one. So font dash size, and we want 300%. Get rid of that italic. We want to put in the padding of 1 EM on the bottom. And then we want to put in the header, we're going to put the background size to cover. We're going to use the cover, so it's going to cover the space inside the box. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to go to the image, and on the image, I think we have to create this one. So we don't have an image selector here. So after or inside the main, or after the main, we're going to do image as a selector, open and close squiggly brackets, and we are going to set a max width of 100%. So it's going to be 100% of the container it's in, and then we are going to have the height be auto. And so now it should be looking something similar to this now, where everything looks like it's contained properly inside of the boxes here.